Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So again, I feel like I start every video like this, but I know it's been so long since I last uploaded. Uni has been so crazy. Third year is a lot more effort and work than second year, and I was not expecting it. So I've been in the library pretty much every single day, but I am back filming another uni video for you today. And before I start this video, I also wanted to say a massive thank you for 3,000 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy to me. This has been a goal of mine for so long, so thank you so much for helping me hit 3,000 subscribers. So today's video is going to be all about second year housing for uni students living off campus, basically just like what happens after your first year at uni. So most of the time first years live on campus and everything's kind of sorted for you. You don't have to worry about bills, you don't have to worry about choosing who to live with. Everything like that is done for you, and you just pay like one amount. I think it's every semester or yearly. I can't really remember, it's been a long time. And I've had a few DMs from people asking stuff about second year housing, because it's kind of getting to the time where people are starting to think about who to live with, maybe even starting to look at some houses. So I thought I would do a Q&A all about those kind of things. So I asked over on my Instagram for any questions that you guys had. So if you don't already follow me on that, then go and check out my Instagram, because I post on there all the time when I do Q&As. And I actually had quite a few questions come through, so I'm gonna just sit through them and answer them today. So the first question I have is, when did you start looking? And as I'm filming this, it's nearly December, and I would say start looking around end of November, beginning of December. That's kind of when a lot of my friends started looking in first year, because places do go quite quickly, but at the same time, don't stress about finding somewhere before Christmas, because you don't have to, you absolutely don't have to. There'll still be plenty of properties after Christmas, but if you know who you want to live with now, then I'd probably start looking as soon as you know who you want to live with, to be honest, because then it's just one less thing to stress about. We tried to get somewhere before Christmas, but we didn't manage to find anywhere, and then the first week back in January is when we secured the property that I'm still living in now. So don't stress if like people in your flat and stuff have already found places to live and you haven't. Don't stress about the fact that they have and you haven't yet, because it's like there's literally properties that come up all the time. So yeah, don't worry about that, but I would probably start looking end of November, beginning of December if you can. I also had a couple of questions that were a bit similar. So somebody asked, when did you decide who to live with? And then somebody else asked, how do you know who to live with? So I decided that I wanted to live with this one girl in my flat pretty early on, because we spent so much time together, we'd go out together all the time. So I just asked her, I feel like it was maybe beginning of November, I can't really remember because it was over 2 years ago now, but I just said to this girl in my flat like if she wanted to live with me for second year, and she said yes. And then we asked someone else in our first year flat, so there was 3 of us, and we were kind of thinking like who else could we ask, and then we went out for a night out with these 2 girls, Ellie and Sophia, and we got on really well with them, so we decided to ask them. And originally we were going to live as a 6, because we were going to live with one of their flatmates as well, so there was going to be 3 from our flat, 3 from their flat, and then it didn't end up working out. House of 6 is really quite difficult to find for what we wanted anyway, because we wanted a big living room still and like a social space. And then one of the girls decided that she wasn't sure if she was going to stay at UEA, so we ended up being a 5 and found a house pretty quickly as a 5 after that. So yeah, we decided who we were going to live with, I want to say mid-November, end of November-ish, and then started looking pretty much straight away, had a lot of viewings booked. Yeah, and how to know who to live with. It can be quite difficult because obviously you haven't known these people for very long, and it can seem kind of scary, the fact that you have to decide pretty quickly. But the one thing I would say is definitely don't rush the decision, and well, at least try not to rush it anyway. And if you get on with people in your first year flat, then it's quite a good idea to live with people from your flat, because you've already lived with them, like you know what they're like, you know who's messy, who's not, and you kind of know what to expect. So I'd say if you do get on with people in your first year flat, then it's nice to live with at least a couple of them, but you absolutely don't have to. I know a lot of houses where they've just come from random groups and they get on really well, so you don't have to live with people from your first year flat, but just if you are friends with them, then it works out quite well. I would say like go out as much as you can with the people that you're thinking about living with, and don't ask anyone straight away, because you don't want to commit to something and then like have doubts and start thinking like, oh, I'm not sure anymore. But just try and spend as much time with people as you can, like message and stuff, to try and figure out who you're going to get along with best. Don't like put pressure on yourself to find somewhere really quickly, and don't rush into choosing who to live with, because otherwise you might end up regretting your decision later. So you have got time, don't stress about it, don't make a decision when you're not 100% sure if you're set on it yet. The next question that I had is quite specific to UEA. So she asked, what are the best areas to live in around UEA and any areas to avoid? So it really depends on what you're looking for, what your priorities are. So for all of the girls in my house, we all said that we wanted to be as close to campus as possible, because one of our housemates is a student nurse, so she was going in for placements a lot, and I was really busy on my course, and so was Sophia. So we all said like we wanted to be as close to campus as we possibly could, and we also all go to the library a lot. So we live kind of like behind Bluebell Road-ish. Bluebell Road's like the main road that kind of runs parallel to the uni, and there's lots of like little roads that branch off that, and that was the perfect location for us, and we've stayed here for a second year, so obviously we all really like it here. It's so close to campus, and it works really well for us. Another really popular area is West Earlham, so that's kind of the opposite end of uni to where I live. It's near the Tesco. If you go to UEA, then you'll know what I'm talking about. It's near the Tesco Express, kind of like behind that. That is a really popular area with students, and literally all of my friends live there, other than the people that I share this house with. So I think if we were looking for a house again, then we probably would look in West Earlham, just so we could be closer to all of our other friends. But yeah, it really depends on what you're after. That is slightly further from the uni, but it's still only like a 15 to 20 minute walk, so it's not that much further. It's kind of near the village. You can also live closer to the city centre, so we've got a group of friends that live in a house on Unthank Road, and that's like halfway between the city centre and the uni, so that works really well as well if you do like going into the city quite a lot. They've all got bikes and stuff, so it doesn't bother them being a bit further away from uni, but it is quite far. Like I think it takes maybe like half an hour to walk to uni from there. It's called the Golden Triangle. Again, if you go to UEA, you've probably heard the Golden Triangle been mentioned. So yeah, the houses are a bit cheaper down that end as well, because they are that little bit further out from uni. So it just depends on what kind of thing you're looking for, but being close to campus works really well for us, because none of us have bikes and we are lazy, so we don't want to be that far away. It just works really well. And I don't think there's really any areas to avoid necessarily. All of the areas are pretty much the same. Like they're a mix of student housing and residential, like I don't know what you call them, the people like Norwich people, Norwich residents. But maybe Bowthorpe, I would say possibly an area to avoid, just because it's so far away. We looked at one house in Bowthorpe and it took us so long to walk there. We were like, nah, this is just not gonna work. So maybe avoid that area, but the houses are really nice over there. So again, it depends like how much you're wanting to go on campus, if you've got a bike, if you're happy getting the bus every day, just things like that. I then had a question from someone who says, I'm a first year at UEA and I'm starting to look for next year. What companies do you recommend? So to actually look for your house, I used Rightmove and managed to find this house on there, and that's where we booked all of our other viewings. So Rightmove is really good to book viewings from, but obviously there's a lot of different estate agents on that. I don't really know what ones to recommend, to be honest, because when it comes to student housing, I'm going to be honest, none of them are that great. We use Abbott Fox, and honestly, if you can avoid going with them, I would, because I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, they were awful. They got our contract wrong, they got our guarantor forms wrong, they got the prices wrong, they got the address wrong, they lost our stuff a million times, and honestly it was such a headache. I could not what's the opposite of recommend, like unrecommend, like just don't, just avoid at all costs if you possibly can. But we did get it sorted in the end, and since the initial contract signing and stuff like that, it's been fine. It was just for the first month or so when we were trying to get this letting through and getting all the contracts signed and stuff, they were a massive pain. But if you really like the house and Abbott Fox is listed with them, then you know, it might just be like one of the things that you have to go with if you really like the house. But other companies, I haven't really heard that much. So yeah, maybe like do your research, look on like the student room and stuff, see if anyone said anything good or bad about the company that you're thinking of going with. Someone asked, is it cheaper than first year accommodation? And this kind of depends on what accommodation you had in first year, because the prices vary for on-campus accommodation so much. For me, second year and third year housing was cheaper, and our second year and third year house is quite expensive compared to our friends, so ours was still cheaper than first year. And yeah, also it depends on what house you pick for second and third year, because the prices can vary so much as well. I know people who have got houses for like £300 a month, and then people that have got houses for over £400 a month, so the prices vary so much. But I think on the whole it is cheaper than on-campus accommodation, depending on where you're looking. So yeah, I hope that helps. But yeah, it just depends on what you're used to and what you're looking for. The next question I have is it best for overseas postgrad students to live in uni accommodation or to look outside? And again, it kind of depends on what you're looking for, what you want to get out of your uni experience. So if you think that you're going to be using the library a lot and you're more at uni to like get your head down and study and get loads of work done, then I'd probably say live on campus if you can, because obviously it's really convenient. The library is like a 2-minute walk away. But if you're looking to still like socialise with people and have like more of a social uni experience as well as getting your work done, then I'd maybe look on some Facebook groups and stuff to try and live with other postgrad students or even undergrad students like away from campus. So yeah, it depends what you're looking for, but there's always Facebook groups. I can't remember what it's called, but there's loads of Facebook groups that you can join, and people post spare rooms on there, so then you can go and have a look and then like pick what room you want. There's always spare rooms going up. So yeah, I'd recommend looking on Facebook. And then someone asked, how do you find a good bills company? The landlord has asked us to sort it ourselves. And I feel you on this. She put a little sad face at the end. Sorting out the bills was so painful. None of us had a clue what we were doing. We felt completely just left on our own. And we were like, we've never had to sort anything like this out before. Where do we even start? And you basically just have to phone up companies. So we are with British Gas for our water and electricity, I think, and heating, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, we just phoned them up and like asked them to give us a quote of how much it would cost, and then we basically set it up from that. And then Wi-Fi, we're with, can't remember who we're with, Virgin. Yeah, we're with Virgin for Wi-Fi. And again, we just phoned them up and then they came in and fitted the router thing and set it all up. And how we do it, because there are some uni houses where bills are included, which would be so much easier, but our bills are not included, and I was the same as you are. So we created a new bills account under one person's name, and then we would pay like a set amount each month into that bills account, and then that bills account would be what would pay for the bills, rather than just like someone keeping it in their main account, because I feel like it could really easily get jumbled up with like other money and then it's hard to keep track. And also we pay £5 more than we need to each month, just in case, because the bills can fluctuate a little bit. So I think by January our heating bill had gone up a little bit, because obviously we'd used it more in the winter months. So if you pay a little bit more each month, then it just means you don't have to keep on changing it, and it's quite nice because then at the end of the year you get a little bit left over, and we just divided that up between the 5 of us, so we got a little bit of money back, which was nice. So yeah, I would probably recommend setting up a separate bills account, because it's so much easier to keep track of who's paying and like what money is actually for the bills, if you get me. I also had a couple of questions not related to second year housing, so I thought I would just quickly answer those as well. One person also asked, what do you usually eat? And I think I might do this as like a day in the life video, because I think that would be a bit more interesting if I can actually show you what I'm eating rather than just telling you. So I'm going to save that question and do that in either a day in the life video or what I eat in a day video. So I'm going to save that one. And then the last question I had was, I know it's not housing, but what about a part-time job at uni? How many hours a week would you recommend? So it really depends on your course. So my course was really busy in first year. I had like 24 hours a week, which doesn't sound like a lot compared to school, but it felt a lot at uni. So that was quite a lot of hours. So I would probably only work maybe like 2 days a week, maybe like 2 6-hour shifts max. One of my friends has a part-time job in 3rd year and she works 2 days a week. So it depends on how many hours you are in uni on your course. Obviously, if you're only got like 8 contact hours a week, then you'll be able to work a lot more. But I'd say generally maybe between like 8 and 12 hours a week is plenty. So that is all of the questions that I had about 2nd year housing. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and you found it useful for those of you who are looking at living off campus next year or the year after. And yeah, thank you so much for your continued support. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.